Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be doing a full audio system in this 2009 Dodge Ram. We'll be doing 4-component 6.5 speakers, a JL, two 12-inch subs, a JL amp for the 4-channel, and 2-channel Alpine for the subs. So I'll kind of give you guys a quick glimpse of what you need to do if you are doing this same setup. There's going to be quite a bit involved, so just kind of stick around and enjoy the video. In the previous video, you might be wondering why I have the truck running. I always kind of do that just to make sure everything is working, i.e. like I do the power windows, check the door locks, make sure nothing on the dash is on, which in this case the check engine light is on. So before you start taking everything off, just kind of double check on those, check the lights and stuff like that. This one works fine. But yeah, anytime you do any vehicle, if you are going to be doing this on the side or full time, always double check everything, especially anything in the dash. Most of the time the customers know, but most of the time the customers don't really even notice that there is lights. So just kind of save yourself the headache and do that kind of simple step and you should be all right. First things first, we're gonna take off all the door panels on all the doors just to kind of see what we're working with. I'm gonna show you where all the screws are and what you need to do to get that out, and we can keep moving. First things first, the tools that you will need just to take off the door panels. You are going to need, you don't have to have this set, but I did get it from Harbor Freight. I believe it was like 15 to 20 bucks. You will need the T20, and that will take off all the security bits, which is this one, and all around. And then for this particular part right here, you will need a small pick just to kind of get in there and pop it off, and that's just a normal Phillips. This part right here, it just kind of pops off. I already popped it off, so it's nothing but clips, so that's pretty easy. Once you get all that screws out, this whole door panel would just need to go up. This motion, do not try to pull it your way. It's got a hooks like this that goes into a hole, so this needs to go up. Make sure you unplug the switches once you lift it up, or you can pop this off, but I prefer to unplug it afterwards just to be safe. But yeah, let's go ahead and take all that off and then move on to the next step. So I have majority of the screws out, just to kind of show you what the part that the screw goes into. It's one of these plastic things. Just kind of use this plastic tool to pop it off. Make sure you don't break it, because this is the only thing that's holding that screw on these locations. So just go ahead and save it. Make sure you get one of these buckets. It's not magnetized, but that one screw is. Just go ahead and pop this off, and then pretty much lift the whole door panel, and I'll show you what that looks like once it's all off. Before you take the door panel off, like I said, just lift it up and it'll slide out. Make sure you unplug the power window switch. All it is just pressing this locking tab on both of them, and they will release. This whole assembly itself is just held by locking tabs, so just kind of work your way, wiggle it a little bit, or push on one of the sides of them, and then it'll release. So once you get that out, like I said, just slide it up, and the door panel's out. So you already got the front of them, or front door panel, taken off. I just wanted to show you how well these things work when it comes to these very tight and not a lot of gap type of covers. So just to kind of show you real quick, see how easy it is to pop because it's so small. I believe I got this from the sewing aisle at Walmart, so if you want to get one of these things, only like a couple of bucks, it'll help you out in the future. The rears are pretty much the same as the front. The only difference is you have this part right here, and just like the front, this thing just pops off, so nothing crazy. Looks like it is missing a tab right there, but no biggie. Two of them are still there. But yeah, same exact thing. Got all the screws all around. Phillips in the middle. Like I said, take this off and slide it up and you are done. So now that you've seen the front driver and rear driver side, go ahead and do the same thing, pretty much same exact process, and then you'll have everything off, and then we'll move on to the next step. Another tip, when you do take off the door panels, make sure you pop back the window control. Obviously that way you can still close it, unlock and lock it, and pretty much roll the windows up. But before you even take off the speakers, just make sure you kind of double check everything. Just make sure everything is getting signals and stuff like that. It's always proper practice to check everything if you're working on somebody's vehicle. But let's go ahead and test that and then move on to the next step. Now the screws, take a 5mm, so is only held by 4 of them. And once you get that out, just unplug it, and do that for the rest of the doors, and all the door speakers will be off. So all the speakers are out, as you can see. Passenger side, driver side, all around. Another great tip if you are doing this is to make sure you kind of keep everything in place. As you can see, everything is magnetized. So here's all the speaker bolts. Here's all the door panels. So they're kind of separated. So I'm using the magnet to kind of separate them. Yeah, just go ahead and keep it moving. We're going to be taking off the aftermarket sub for now because we're going to need the room. I haven't decided yet where I'm going to mount the amp, but I do need to take off all these aftermarket stuff that somebody ran because I'll be running my own one. So yeah, let's go ahead and start taking this off and we'll keep moving. This is what you never want to do, is to kind of cram in the ground like these. And I don't know where this bolt came from. Not sure as heck don't know where these bolts come from, but I'm gonna be moving all that seats, so I will be taking that off. I'm thinking about building a little amp rack down here just to kind of house the amps and the distribution blocks. But yeah, let's go ahead and keep it moving. But yeah, never ever do these. That's like a noob type of thing, but it won't be like that once I'm done with it. So I'm getting ready to remove the aftermarket stuff that somebody ran. This is definitely a no, but it's already almost getting cut. But that's going to be all replaced. And the battery wire, I'm not really sure where it's running, but it looks like it's not really sure where it's going, but that's pretty long. Not really sure what's going on down here, but this will all be replaced with the aftermarket one. It's definitely going to look a lot nicer than this one, but yeah, if you are getting into these, please do not do this. Make sure it's closer, or have the fuse holder right here. That would be a lot better than this. So I just finished removing the aftermarket amp kit that somebody installed. As you can see from the previous video, it's not done right. That's kind of what this one looks like. So this is definitely a no-no when you're doing this type of installation. As you can see, all these would create an arc every time it bumps, and it's not even really secured in my opinion. So this is definitely not a good way to install aftermarket amps. And it's also extended right here. Not only it's pretty long from the battery to the fuse, it's also doing these. So, but all these will be trashed, and we'll put in a pretty much brand new setup. Make sure you keep track of all the parts, kind of like this, empty box, all the little panels, that way you don't lose anything. So just another tip for you brand new folks that's doing this. So we'll go ahead and keep moving. Let's move on to the next step. So we are just kind of moving forward as far as getting everything prepped. Originally I thought the amp would be on the glove box side, which is, I believe, the 10 or 12 or anything like that was up there. Found out that it was on this side, so it'll be this black piece right here, and this is where all the speaker outputs are. So go ahead and unplug all that, and then you'll access the aftermarket or the factory amp right here. You won't really need to plug both of them, so you can go ahead and unplug that. That's where we're going to catch all the door speaker signals. The only reason why I kind of debated to run new wires, these are notorious for the strands inside or the wires inside to break just from the normal closing and opening of the door. It is quite common, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to catch all the speaker wires here since they all pretty much ran to all the 4s. Like I said, you don't need that factory amp anymore. You can go ahead and take that off. Overall, it's pretty much, we are getting closer and closer to doing everything. I already got the aftermarket amplifier that somebody ran, so I'm going to go ahead and start running the new one. This one you can just kind of lay in here. It's not going to be on the way. The pocket was here, so just go ahead and take off the star bit that holds it from here, and then one to the side. And the parking brake is only held like right here, so the rod is going through that, so just unclip this lock and the whole thing would come off. Just kind of easier to access everything. So let's go ahead and keep it moving. So I almost forgot about this, might as well do it now. This was broken, so customer asked if I could take it off. It was pretty seized in there, so I had to use vice grip and a normal just to kind of release everything, but I got that taken out. So we'll go ahead and order a new one and then pop it in before we put the door panels back on. Now that we got everything off, we're gonna go ahead and take off the Halo 11. I do need to fix this gap right here. Now this is not my work. This was done at a local shop. As you can see, it's no gap here, and there's a big gap right here because they shoved the USB in the middle, so that kind of threw off the fitment. But I will be fixing that and rerouting these to the side, that way it won't look like that. So let's go ahead and take this off and keep it moving. So we are just kind of mocking up all the amps where we're going to be putting it in. I'm going to be building a rack just to kind of house these. It's going to have the distribution block in the middle, or I have to move this up front and put it right here. I'm not quite sure yet. I also might want to put like a little bit of LED in here just to kind of pop it up a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and go to Home Depot and see what I can find. Before we take off the radio, I did notice this gap right here. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like this or it's supposed to sit flat, but I guess I'll find out once I remove everything and see what's going on back there. So when I was getting ready to take this off, I noticed it wasn't even secured in there. This is not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be kind of locked in there. That way it's not so easy to steal, but yeah. I got the screen off. Now you can kind of see why there's a gap. The wires were just kind of shoved in there, so it's not sitting flat. As you can see, there's a gap. So we'll fix that once everything is done. Everything will sit flush like it's supposed to. When you do take the trim off, do not forget that you can pop this off right here. It goes here, and there's a little hidden star bit right here, so don't just start yanking on it and things like that, because you will break this. So, and there's also, like I said, 2 Phillips here, and let's keep going. After you get all that hidden screws or hidden screw, go ahead and pop this off, and the center will just kind of pop off on its own. So this is what it looks like behind the radio. So everything just kind of left loose, but we will zip tie that later on once we're all kind of running all the wires, just to kind of make it look all neat. So yeah, that's what it looks like. At least they used a good brand, so that's a plus. But let's go ahead and take this radio off, access the plugs. So we're moving on with test fitting the crossover boxes. I found it that you can do it from this angle. I did have to trim the top a little bit to kind of follow the contour of the crossover box itself, so just to kind of help it fit better. As you can see, you don't even really need a screw, although I'm still going to be putting a screw in both middle and then maybe like a strip of ABS just to kind of support it. but I will also add a couple of screws just around it, just to make sure this thing doesn't fall off. But overall, it's pretty sturdy in there. It's not, I don't think it's gonna go anywhere, but it does look good in there. So I went ahead and went to Menards to grab the PVC board. That way I can start doing the amplifier rack. So I'm about to go ahead and check out and get started on that. So we just got back from Menards getting the PVC board. We're gonna start going ahead and running the RCAs and the 9-wire speaker conductor for the factory amp bypass. So I'll go ahead and start running that, zip tie everything, and kind of show you what it looks like. And I also bought Gorilla Tape. That way the RCAs can be separated with the power cable to prevent noises and interference and anything like that. So yeah, you need one of these. They're only like $6. Let's go ahead and run all that and show you what that looks like. So the next step we had to do after running all the wires is to mount the tweeters. I just used a basic hole set from Harbor Freight, one of these, just to trying to match the every speaker is going to be different, so don't try to just start drilling holes and not know which side it is, but just kind of match the casing and then drill from there. You're going to do all 4, and then you're going to be mounting all the mid-bass speakers. That way we can at least test fit everything and see if everything fits without any trimming. Move on to the next step. So here's one of them screwed in. So you only need 4 screws, but if you want to add more, just for, I guess, safety, you're more than welcome to. But that holds pretty well. And the tweeter is above. Let's do it all another 3 and then move on to the next step. I did find a small dent on the speaker grill. It doesn't look like it'll affect the tweeter, but just kind of document it a little bit. That way I know which one it is. I'm going to be putting this on the rear passenger side. That way I know exactly which one it is in an event that it is bad or it is pushed in, but I'm not going to mess with it. I don't want to accidentally puncture the tweeter itself, so we'll just leave it be and see where it goes. So I got the mid bass and the tweeters all mounted, as you can see. It's pretty much all what it looks like. I already have one of the crossover boxes being test fitted at the door. I need to make a little backing plate for it, so I will go ahead and show that once I kind of figure out how to hold it in place even better. That way I'm not relying on rubber. But yeah, that's what it looks like so far. You just need 4 screws, mount them in, and just be careful screwing them in. That way you don't accidentally puncture one of these. So we'll go ahead and keep going and run all the wires, get everything moving. I started running the RCAs and the remote wire going ahead into the radio. Here's the wire, just kind of trace it along. As you can see, it's also, I put a tape on it to kind of blend in. And then once you get to the bottom, just kind of like zip tie along the harnesses, that way it doesn't move around. The cable or the power cable is going to be separated to try to help and prevent any noises. As you can see, this is the RCAs right there on the side, and they are not touching. So just to kind of show you, they're not touching. It's separated by the e-brake cable, which is pretty thick. So, and it's also running along. The power cable is right here. I would suggest putting a little tape on it, or Tessa tape, or electrical tape, whichever one you have, just to kind of prevent it from rubbing along. Just kind of zip tie it all together, run it like that. As long as the power cable and the remote or the RCAs are separated, you should not have any problem. Plus this is a pretty good brand wire, so I highly doubt it's going to have any noise. But if you try to mount it on top of the power cable or zip tie it, it may cause interference or noises. So, but that's how it should look like. And then we'll go ahead and continue to run it to the back and secure it more. Now that I got all the component speakers done up, let's get to the truck real quick. That's kind of how the crossover box is gonna look. So had to trim it out a little bit, so that's not really going anywhere. I also made the little board for the amp, so that's nice and pretty looking in there. So it's pretty much fitted. It's all cut up where it should be. So far everything's looking good. Let's keep on moving. So I got the 9-wire conductor already ran. I ran it along the side of the factory box. That way it'll clear and not hit when I put back the panels. As you can see right here, it's contoured the same way, and it needs to go where this plug is, so that's plenty of space in there. And let's keep continuing in the back, and that should conclude the front speaker wires. So I've been trying something different, so kind of just doing the speaker wires for now. I kind of already got it ran to the block, so I got the ground and I'm waiting for the ferrules for the power, so it should be here today. Just kind of waiting on that, but I went ahead and completed this one, and then I'll get everything mounted to that and then keep on moving. I am getting ready to do the 9-wire conductor to the factory amp bypass. All the speaker wires you will need is in the black plug. I can provide the wire colors if you need be. They're literally, you can just Google as well if you don't want to wait on that. To test the speaker wires itself, you're going to need one of these. All it is a tone generator. What it does is it provides a hum or a buzz. That way you know you're exactly at the speaker wires that you need for all the 4-door speakers. So here's the part number, or you can use a 9-volt, whichever one you want. But let's go ahead and hook everything up, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I went ahead and took off the 19mm bolt that was here. I don't know if you noticed on the previous video, on the very beginning, they just kind of forked the ground and put it there. As you can see, I didn't take it off so you can still kind of see it. So every time you do a ground, you want to sand the surface. That way it'll have a full metal connection. Also clean the bolt a little bit, and then sand the washer as well. And let's go ahead and get that prep. Let me get the wire brush and sand this down. I went ahead and sanded the washer and cleaned up the bolt a little bit. Also sanded down to bare metal. So that's going to be your ground. Every time you do an amp, always sand the surface. That way you'll have metal to metal, good ground contact. So I just kind of wanted to show you what the components all mounted look like. Obviously got the crossover box right here, all the matching positive and negative color-coded terminals or forks. Got the wires running along with the harness. I did have an issue with this one. It's supposed to be upside down, but when I try to install it, the woofer is hitting a bracket that holds the track for the power window, and I kind of contemplated on breaking that up, but then if I did, then it would lose the rigidity of the track itself for the power window. So all I did was kind of flip it upside down. Somehow it works, so I guess we'll leave it at that, and pretty much that's the only way we can do at this point without affecting the rigidity of the power window track. But overall, like I said, it works. So it kind of shows you what it looks like. So it looks pretty good in there. Moving on to the next step. So I went ahead and got the radio installed back. I did have to modify the dash kit a little bit since the shop that did the install didn't really secure the casing. So in an event that somebody tried to steal it, you can just kind of pull it within a few seconds, and that's pretty much that. The only thing I did have to do with the harness is add the bypass for the unit. That way he can watch videos or access the settings while the vehicle's moving, as the shop also didn't hook that up to the e-brake. So we already got that taken care of. I know it looks like a mess, but that's kind of how it was. So I'm just going to zip tie it since it wasn't zip tied, and then we'll put everything back and then test everything out. So let's go ahead and get the fuse pretty much mounted here. Using an install gear 100 amp, since the 2 amps are about 1100 total, so we'll be using a 100 amp just to be safe. Already got the extension, or the one that goes to the battery post. I'm going to be taking this off. This is from an old install, so let's go ahead and pop that in and see if everything works out. So I got the radio installed. I did have to modify a little bit of the bracketry, trim some of them out. If you installed one of these, you kind of know the process of putting it on. You got to put the screw on, got to put a cap on, you got to put the activator on so it'll come on and off. In this case, since I had to secure the dash kit, I had to do a little bit of modification to those little pieces, but I'm not really going to show you. So it just varies by car. In this particular vehicle, it needs to be done that way. As you can see, the cover is back in there, and this thing is pretty solid in there. Before, all you had to do is push it with one hand and the whole thing comes off, or one finger actually, it fully comes out. But now it's pretty much in there, so that's kind of what we wanted. It's a lot safer that way, and the customer would like it better this way. So now that we got the rack in there, we're going to be taking off these things so the sub would sit a lot flush. So right now this part is hitting, so this requires a star bit. I'm not quite sure what size it is yet, so let me see what size it is. This set I got from Amazon, from Lexibon. So it's just a basic, obviously not high impact deal, so I wouldn't put it on the impact wrench or anything like that, but this is just for basic removal, so don't go too crazy on it. I believe it's a, what size is this one? T30. So go ahead and take that off. Take the other side off. Drop in the sub. So I got the fuse holder pretty much mounted where it's going to be. I didn't drill any holes. I just kind of zip tied it to the harness. So everything is zip tied, so it's not going anywhere. Got the power already done. So pretty much the only thing we have left is to tune the amps and then see, kind of clean it up a little bit more just to make sure we didn't miss anything out. So we're gonna head and keep doing that, and we are home stretch to completing this job. We're back at it again. Got everything installed. Let's go ahead and put the door panels back in place. Since I already got everything tested, make sure nothing fall off or hit. So everything is secured, not going anywhere. Let's keep on moving. We are almost done. I almost forgot about this. I do have to replace all these little things since he ended up getting aftermarket ones without these pieces. So everything would kind of just thread on. So I'll go ahead and start doing that and then put the door panels back. I had one more request from the customer itself. Just making an adjustment on his remote start to 25 minutes instead of 15. So everything is kind of being wrapped on this vehicle. So this was the last thing that I needed to do. So that pretty much wraps up the whole install. Put everything back together, clean it up, and have Callan pick up all the little knickknacks. I do pay him for that, so that way you kind of learn a little bit. But yeah, that's the last part. Hopefully you guys learned something.
What's up, guys? I am cleaning this guy's car before he picks it up. My YouTube will be linked in the description. Please subscribe.
So this is the last check before we give the truck to the owner. I went ahead and have everything put back. I did run his wire where he wanted instead of it having a big gap right there on the center. Got the radio put back in. Also got all the door panels put on. Got the amp all done up, all sitting in there. So only thing I really have left is to do a last check to it. I can't really put any music due to YouTube likes to cancel or demonetize videos that has music on them. Not really sure why, but just to kind of show you real quick the Alpine. Overall, this is a pretty nice unit. so I do like it. I already kind of adjusted everything, so, but just to keep it on the conservative side, I have it started at 5. He's gonna have to break in all the speakers at about 20 hours, so I didn't want to go too crazy on the setting it up too high and all that stuff and it blowing up. Manufacturers do require 20-hour, not all of them, but I like to do it that way. So hopefully the owner is happy, got everything done for him in a timely manner. But yeah, he needs to break it in about 20 hours, break it in, and then he should be able to turn it up after that. So hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something. If you guys did, I appreciate if you click subscribe. If you guys have any questions about anything, please leave a comment and I will try to answer it. Other than that, peace.